I cannot believe that I have neglected this plant till it got to this point. What is this? I've never started over with an anthurium before. I've been literally watching that plant die for so long. Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to be bringing plants back from the dead. This was a video voted for by my Good Growing fam over on Patreon. They wanted to see how I go about resurrecting some plants that have gone a little bit too far over the edge into the could be dead territory. I hope they're not, but I'm going to be doing my best to resurrect them today. But before I get into it, I want to say if you're new here and you don't know me already, hi, my name is Emma and I make houseplanting content all over the internet. So if you want to follow along with my houseplanting journey and maybe learn something along the way, stick around, watch some more of my videos, and subscribe to my channel. If not new here, thanks for coming back. I really appreciate it. Also, go look at my other Halloween-y plant videos this year because I've had a few and they're fun little getting ready for spooky season if you haven't watched them already. So yeah, I don't know where to begin. I have several plants that like looking worse. Oh, looking worse for wear. Here. Oh. Yeah, where to start? I think I'm gonna start on this Maranta because this to me is a freaking easy one. Marantas, if they ever get to this point where they're just a bit floppy, they don't have very many stems, I know it's because this one was thirsty and I have recently given it water, but it just hasn't popped back up like it normally would. If that's the case, what I do is I just go in and I chop. I pretty much chop back to the base of the plant, basically as low as possible. And in theory, it should regrow from this point out of here. I am also going to do a little bit of root pruning. You can see that there's some roots in there that have just been like sitting in the water reservoir or lack thereof when I forget to water it. But any ones that I think look a little bit worse for wear, I'm just going to trim right back to the pot. Actually, I'm just going to do all of them because there's not really harm in it. I know this one has plenty of roots within this pot. I've not pulled it out to see them, but I just know it does. So I'm not worried about it like not being able to get enough moisture. And this is why we have potting mats, people. Oh, look at this. Look at that mess. Well, good. I suppose we could have a look at it more thoroughly now that I've essentially unpotted it. Pull it out, have a look at its roots. That's kind of the next most important thing to do. If I had pulled it out and I'd noticed that some of the roots were rotten, I probably would have immediately kind of gone on and said, let's pull it out. But because those roots for the most part were fine, I didn't think it was necessary. And I'm also going to remove any of these like dried cataphils on here because those will just rot basically. So otherwise these roots are looking fairly healthy. These sort of plump bits on them are perfectly normal, but typically when it's not dehydrated, which I know this one was, they would be plumper than they are right now. So I do know, I can tell that this one has been a little bit too dehydrated for its liking, which is completely my own fault. So I think the best bet, because it does have plenty of roots in here, is to go back in to this pot. I don't really want to trim these roots down too much. They're feeling firm and fine. And it also has a bit of a new growth point there. So I'm just gonna go in and put it back because, oh, I should put the string in first. But yeah, it should be absolutely fine in this pot. It's not gonna be a problem in here. The whole reason that this one was dying was purely out of underwatering, which is my own fault. I think I need to figure out a sort of different situation for the plants in the office. And at one point I did have a really good idea about what I wanted to do, and kind of rearrange everything. So you know that area behind my desk in our bedroom? I wanted to put my Millsbow cabinet in that opposite nook, so it would be right behind my desk, because I have been spending much more time in my office lately, at my desk lately, and so the things in the bedroom aren't going as unnoticed as they previously have been. But the plants in the office that's mostly used by Joe, those plants are the ones that are tending to go unnoticed and are having more issues lately. And so my thought was I could move those plants, the ones that need more of like everything, need more attention, into the living room where the Millsbow was, move the Millsbow into the bedroom, and then move the bookshelf that was in the bedroom, which has like a couple of plants on it, nothing major, into the office. So like have my ZZ plant and stuff that I don't need to be paying attention to all the time, maybe like a cast iron plant, those kinds of things that I don't need to be watching constantly, because I found on the plant shelves I have in the office that they tend to be smaller plants on there, which means they are like in general fragile and weaker and need more paying attention to. And I am not doing that well enough right now, so I need to figure out a different situation. So I wanted to do that, but unfortunately the Millsbow cabinet is literally 1 centimeter too wide at the base, because the legs kind of flare out of the Millsbow a little bit. So it's 1 centimeter too wide at the base, where the legs are, to fit into that gap because of the skirting board. So either I need to have the legs not flare out or take the skirting board off, and neither of those are particularly options that I want to do. Neither of them seem like the right answer, but essentially it won't fit there, and so my whole plan for getting the plants that I know need more attention, not gonna happen. So unless somebody knows of a way that you can make the Millsbow legs go straight down instead of out, I'm gonna have to figure something else out in the end. But yeah, so I've repotted this one up now. Hopefully we can get it resurrected. I think we can. All of these actually I'm going to be putting in, I have a spare box at the minute. I'm gonna do similar to what I did after I took my props out of the prop box, and have them in a sort of really humid, preferably bright. I'll put them in a place underneath a grow light that goes on for quite a lot of the day. Very humid, very bright, very moist setting, in order to recuperate as best as I can, and then I can slowly acclimate them back into sort of my average home setting. So all of these will be going in there. And I know some of them have pests, like this, ooh, what's the word? Alocasia lauterbachii. I know it's got pests. It has previously had pests. And I have since sprayed it with Provanto purely for this video. But I'm gonna cut. I'm gonna cut. I'm going to cut, and I'm going to repot this into a smaller pot. Yeah, it doesn't need to be quite this big. Otherwise, the roots are looking really good. There's no problem there, which is great. But I kind of want to make part of this box a sort of mini pond box. I'll put a tray. I've got some food containers that I can use to like have water in them and be like a constant source of moisture for some things. Should I use fresh pond? Probably. Or semi-hydro, I guess. I will. I do need to go through and boil a bunch of semi-hydro at the minute. I've got whole pots full of semi-hydro that I need to go through and boil. I've just not done it. I've literally got a saucepan specifically for that process, and I haven't used it yet. So that is something. Maybe that is a little bit too small. That's probably a better size for this. Which is probably about the same size as it was in, but I need something that I can like constantly be having moisture in. So it makes sense that I need to go a little bit further with this one. And honestly, I just hope removing all of the leaves does it enough, because the other ones have died off. It's obviously not been happy in this sort of situation it was in. It was in my Acker bar, my mini greenhouse cabinet, or my mini greenhouse, and I know that whole thing got thrips, and I am going to be making that over in a future video, so that's exciting. But I just keep spilling stuff today. I'm not on top of my game. But this, I'll rinse this down and probably put it and maybe one more thing in like this, and I will fill this with water so it stays nice and moist, and it'll be inside of that humidity box. So it'll be like a mini pond section inside of that bigger box, which I think will be really, really good for it. It needs it. And then that kind of frees up another one of these, because these are really valuable to me in my collection. I think I'm gonna sort this one next. This is absolutely pathetic. I cannot believe that I have neglected this plant till it got to this point. I just have not cared. It's not been an easy spot for me to access, and it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. It wasn't really growing into the pole. Maybe it was growing into the pole, but not well enough. And so I need to start over with it, because all of these leaves, I let it get too dehydrated, and it is just not a happy camper. So I think with something like this that's this far gone, I need to kind of start fresh with it. And so I'm going to prop it from wet sticks. I'm going to go in here, and every single node, don't fall away. Every single node is going to be its own wet stick. And hopefully I can get it to reroot and grow again. Because, like, it's an Epipremnum skeleton key. I love the Epipremnum skeleton key. I think it's a really cool type of plant. It's so different and weird and exciting, and I really, really like it. I've just struggled so much with it. I haven't had one that I've been successful with yet in my entire time of being a plant parent. It's just not happened for me, which kind of sucks, but at the same time, it is what it is. You can't win them all. I thought because it was an Epipremnum, I'd be fine with it, but apparently I was wrong. So yeah, going in, and every single one of these nodes is going to be its own little plant. And it does have an okay root system, but I'm pretty sure I've dehydrated it out a little bit too much. and so these roots are just not going to function. But now I can reuse that moss pole for something else. And in the meantime, I will be putting these into a prep box. So I have another takeaway container here. I really love these sort of takeaway containers from restaurants. They are the freaking best because I don't need to buy them. I'll never buy something like this, but if my Chinese food comes in with it, I will reuse it for plant stuff. So that is really good. Also, sorry for the lights changing. The sun's just kind of come out a little bit. But I'm just going in now with some sphagnum moss, some fresh sphagnum moss. So this stuff might actually grow, which is awesome. And I'm gonna put a layer of it in the bottom of this container and go in and lay each of these in a line in hopes that they actually freaking grow, because that would be awesome. Because if they reroot and I can kind of get a bushier thing, I feel like I might be happier with it. Part of the issue maybe has been that I've just had one single strand of it, which isn't the sort of nicest way to grow a plant like this, especially a trailing vining one. It's nicer when you have like multiples. So I think one of these lids is bound to fit in here. Oh yeah. So this one is not going to be going into my rescue box because it has its own sealedness. It can go, as long as it goes underneath some grow lights, and I might give it a little bit more water just to get it nice and hydrated before it gets sealed for a while. And then once I notice roots start to grow, I can come in and update y'all on how these plants are doing when hopefully we have an answer either way. If it's gone well or if it's gone badly, hopefully we'll have an answer. So that's really good. Feeling much better about that one. I've been literally watching that plant die for so long and done nothing about it. Next up, got my Syngonium 3 Kings, which has a similar story to the Lauterbachia. It's been in the Acrobar mini greenhouse cabinet, and it probably has pests, and I have since sprayed it with Provanto as well, because I'm not going to be putting predatory mites in this little box, so it doesn't really matter if they have Provanto on them or not, because it's not like I'm ruining my hard work of using them. So I'm kind of tempted to unpot this one as well. Okay, yeah, so that one's fine, but one of the roots in there is dead, unfortunately. So I think it'd be a good idea to go in and root prune everything, just to see the sort of root system it's got, see if there's anything I can do to help with it. Like, what is this? This is gross and like rotten and doing nothing for the plant. Yeah, the bottom here is definitely like gooey. Oh, there we go. So while it does have some okay roots, I'm kind of tempted to go in and reroot this one as well, because this bottom bit of the stem is rotting. Like in there, don't know if you can see that or not, but in there it's a bit rotting, and I don't want that to continue, so I'm tempted to cut that bit off, unfortunately cutting off all of the roots. And I can reroot this. I can reroot things. That is not a problem. That is a skill that I know that I possess. This one, because there was 2 in that pot, is actually looking okay. The bottom section of it is not. rotting and the root feels fine. But I'm going to keep these together just for safety, just so they're staying in the same spot. But in this semi-hydro, there are all kinds of just rotten bits of root. Like, no wonder it was very unhappy there. It just wasn't doing itself any favors. And that is my own fault. But it's just unfortunate that I let it get to that point. I mean, all of this is my own fault. I know that. I'm not claiming that any of this is because of anyone else but me. But I am going to be putting these in a cup of sphagnum moss because they're taller. They don't need like a wet stick process. They've got leaves on them. They can't really fit into an enclosed container in the same way. So I'm going to put it in a cup of sphagnum moss, and it'll go inside of my little box thing that I'm making. And hopefully, if we can get this one to re-root and kind of get to a better place, I can get it to grow well again. This is one of the couple of Syngoniums that I actually still have in my collection. And honestly, I think I've said it a bunch, but not recently. I've gone off Syngoniums quite a lot. I've kind of struggled with them a lot recently, and it's caused me to want to get rid of most of my Syngoniums. I find that they are a lot more fragile as plants than a lot of other things, specifically like epipremnums or philodendrons or monsteras. Syngoniums tend to be a lot more fragile. And oh, what have I done? Oh, that's fine. I'll just take that leaf off. Just breaking my plant more. They tend to just be a little bit more fragile and a lot more susceptible to pests. They have very, very thin leaves, and so kind of if anything happens to the leaf, if anything touches the leaf, if the leaf touches a light or gets smashed or something, it will immediately kind of go off, which is really annoying, and especially as I kind of consider myself a lazy plant parent. I obviously do a lot for my plants, but I like things to be a bit more low maintenance. That's why I do put so much stuff in semi-hydro, because I know that I don't need to be as intense with that as I am with soil for some things. And yeah, so I've kind of been going off of Syngonium in general. This is one of the few that I still really like. I like the sort of variegation on it. The green on green variegation I think is really pretty, and I want it to continue growing, but I'm not sure if I will be able to keep it growing. So such is life. We'll see what happens with this one. Like I said, I can update you on everything down the line. Gross. And I've got another one of these pots that I can use for something else. This one is my Philodendron Ernestii, which I have no freaking clue what happened with it. I think with the Epipremnum, the skeleton key, I'm pretty sure what happened with that one is it got pests, and I didn't water its moss pool enough, and so it just like didn't do the plant thing. This one, I was so on top of it, and yet it still didn't do the thing, and so I just really don't know where I went wrong with it. So I am going to start afresh with this one with wet sticks, because it does have some growth points on there. There's one there, there's one down here. Like, there are growth points on it. But they're just not serving. They're not growing quite yet, which I want them to. And I think part of that could be, oh, that's gonna fall over. could be due to lack of moisture, because again, I've kind of been just watching this one ever since I noticed it going downhill. I've kind of just been watching it fail slowly, which is my bad. But having a twig like this is not the worst thing out there, because I can do similar to what I did with the Epipremnum and just go in and cut myself some wet sticks, and that should be absolutely fine. So I've got myself 3 wet sticks, and because it already has a bit of a sprout on it, I think I'm gonna put this one in a slightly taller container, because if this starts putting out a leaf, which it might, which I hope it does, it'll need slightly more room than the Epipremnum ones will, just like sooner. It'll need room sooner than they will. So it makes sense to give it something a little bit more spacious. So again, just going in with some fresh sphagnum moss and putting a layer on the bottom of, this is actually a yogurt tub. It is my favorite. Joe used to get this specific kind of yogurt that the tubs are freaking amazing. They have closable lids and the stickers come off so easily that I was like, this is perfect for planting. So I kind of encourage him to get this yogurt every once in a while so I can get more of these little tubs, which is fun. So I've got my moss, and I'm just going to plop these guys into there and keep my fingers crossed that something comes of this. This one is probably the one I'm going to need to keep my eye on most because of that new growth in there. That could very well come out larger than this container can hold. Hopefully it doesn't, but it might. So I need to keep an eye on this one. But as you can see, it's got plenty of space between the moss and the top. So even if it does come out and it's a little bit bigger, it's not the end of the world. So that is really good. And then I think the last one that I want to be working on today is my Forgetii White Stripe. So you can see these 2 leaves have lots of damage, and then this one, it looks okay from far away, but it has so much pest damage on it. I'm pretty sure this one did have thrips. It might still have thrips. I have predatory mites on it, but it just has so much damage on this leaf that I'm done. I'm over it. So I'm tempted to start over, and I've never started over with an Anthurium before. So doing this will kind of be big for me. Very different and very unexpected, because this is not something that I normally do. I think the best bet would be to have a look at its roots, because if it has okay roots, we won't chop back. Ooh, I've got an idea with it. Instead of pulling it out, because I think it's got okay roots, like, we can look in there. It's got decent roots. And it doesn't look like any of them are rotten, which is good. They don't feel bad. They don't look sludgy in there. What I'm going to do I just beheaded this plant, okay. I'm going to keep this as one. And I'm going to try and propagate this section. I think. Because there's like plenty of nodage on that. Let me just triple check it for any pests, because if I can see any on here, I don't really want to be... I suppose I could spray it with Provanto, similar to the others, before it goes in the box. I might do that just in case, but... yeah. I'm gonna try and propagate this. And I'm not exactly sure how, because it is kind of awkward. Like the leaves all go down, which I know is because I've had it on a high shelf. But I definitely didn't get a cup for this sort of thing. Give me 1 second and I'm gonna figure out what would work best for this, because it is very odd in its shape. I'm not sure how I want to go about it. Like, should I take a leaf off? Should I take 2 leaves off? So I don't really like the way these leaves look anyway, so should I take this leaf off? Would that be beneficial, or should I leave it on so it can like get energy from it? I mean, I don't think it really matters. Both options are probably fine, but I don't know. Give me a second, I'll think about it. Okay, so I've brought 2 options over. This is a jar full of water, and if I can fully submerge that into the water, okay, maybe I need to oh, spilling everywhere. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Okay, so I can do this. I was able to get it in to fit quite well. It might be a pain in the butt to get out, but I thought it was okay. This might not be okay. I like that the leaves are all contained in one spot, but I think it's gonna be okay. That was actually way easier than I thought it was gonna be. Okay. Okay, I don't even need to show you the second option because the first option worked. The other option was going to be sphagnum moss in a tall cup, which would also probably work just as well. But I think this is fine. I think that'll do. I am not happy with these leaves as they are, but there's nothing I can really do about them now. Damage is done. They don't come back to life, unfortunately. I can't bring leaves back to life. Even if I can bring the plants back to life, the leaves, these ones specifically, cannot come back. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this one with Provanto because I know it had thrips on it, and I've done the others, and this box doesn't matter. There's no predatory mites in this box. It just doesn't matter. So I'm going to spray this, and then we can put the box together and put it in a nice bright spot and hopefully get these plants back on their way, like getting them on the path to resurrection. They're coming back down the river. Is it the Hades River? It's not the Danube. The back down that like river to hell. They're coming back up it, back to the land of the living. So let me spray these really quick. All right. So here is the box, and it's just had sphagnum moss in it before, that's why it's got stuff, but it should be absolutely fine. And I just get to put this stuff in the box. Okay, this leaf might be a little bit tall for this. Maybe I could cut 1 leaf off. I don't think that would be the end of the world if I just cut the 1 leaf off. Sorry, leaf. And then this can go back in here. These are low enough that it's not going to be a problem. I've got my Alocasia corm. I've actually changed my mind on the Alocasia. Instead of having it in a pot with holes in the bottom, I'm not going to tip this over because it's going to fall out. Instead of having it in a pot with holes at the bottom, I'm just going to go no drainage. I think that makes way more sense because then it really won't drain, which is what I want. And I'll need to add a little bit more semi-hydro. And obviously some water as well. But that's fine. This will just make sure it stays nice and moist. Because it doesn't have any drainage. I am just going to very quickly rinse this. And then we should be good. Just gave it the quickest of rinses to make sure that it doesn't have tons of dust on it. And then going to fill the water. And it's going to about halfway up the cup there, which I think will be perfect for it. This guy, I should probably put a pot underneath it. And then I have this one, which I'm also going to water. The last one we've got is the Syngonium. Which will be absolutely fine in here. And I don't think it'd be that bad if I just poured some water in. It'll be fine. And now I can just close the lid and put it in a better spot. I am just going to be putting this box right in here, like that. And it's got the other two on top of it, but there is a grow light under here, so it will get grow light, especially in the evenings, and especially now that it's getting darker quite a lot earlier than it previously was. I think it should be enough light. Like, there's no grow lights on this exact section right now, and you can see it is fairly bright. Obviously there's someone behind me, and in theory I could make it so this grow light goes on all the time, because I guess these are propagation, so it probably would like that quite a bit. But, oh, there we go. That's some good lighting for me. If you do want to see where these plants end up, if I am able to resurrect them, if I am right in thinking that they're not actually dead, they are just unhappy, I can make that happen for you. Put the skull emoji down below in the comments, and I can know that that's something that you want to see, so I can give you what you want as well. Before I go, I want to thank the newest member of my Good Growing fam over on Patreon, Maria. Thank you so much for joining. I really hope you love it over there. If anybody else is interested in joining the Good Growing fam, it is £3 or $4 or euros a month, and you get all the good stuff. I think there is now currently a free option of Patreon, but I just want to clarify that that is not get you any of the like bonus content that I provide over there. And if you do sign up for the free version, which I don't know, they just added this thing and I don't quite understand it yet, but if you did sign up for that, there won't be any bonus content there, but it exists. I'm still not sure about the functionality of it, but yeah, in order for you to get the bonus content, it is a small fee. But like I normally say, you can think about it as running one of my grow lights for a month, or buying me a coffee, or just helping a girl out do this kind of stuff, because I wouldn't be able to do this without all of you. So yeah, that's there if you want it. I really hope you all enjoyed watching this video, enjoyed me bringing these plants back from the dead as best as I possibly can. If you did, please give it a thumbs up down below and leave a comment on other houseplanty things you'd like me to talk about in the future. And don't forget to subscribe for more. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Keep growing. Bye!